Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Ronline Report. Today's guest, if you've ever trained at a Gold's Gym, you owe it to this man. He is Ed Connors. He was one of the men who turned Gold's Gym from a small mom and pop operation into a worldwide phenomenon with hundreds and hundreds of locations. Please welcome Ed Connors. How are you, Ed?
Good, thank you.
I have a lot of viewers who are younger and not as versed in the history of the sport and the gym industry. So if we could start just a little background. So we know Joe Gold started the first Gold's Gym location in 1965. It was a very small, I want to say like a couple thousand square feet, building, a storefront building on Main Street in Venice. And that was 1965. He didn't own it that long. I always think it was there for many, many decades, but it wasn't. He sold it off because I think he went back into the Merchant Marines like in 1977 or something. I want to say the next owner was a guy named Ken Sprague. Is that right?
Well, there were several people in between Ken Sprague and Joe Gold, but your history is very good. Joe Gold only owned Gold's Gym for 5 years.
Wow. Wow. That was not long at all.
Yeah.
And so when did you come into the picture with partners and start thinking about a franchise?
Well, Pete Grimkowski and eventually Tim Kimber and I bought Gold's Gym in February of 1979.
Okay.
And we bought it from Ken Sprague. And at the time, it was in Santa Monica, which is its second location.
All right. Was it 3rd or 4th Street, something like that?
2nd Street.
2nd Street. Okay. And did you immediately have a vision that you would expand and have multiple locations?
Well, Pete was Mr. World, and he was traveling the world. And I think he saw that not everybody could come to the Mecca. Oh, sorry.
Sounded pretty cool, whatever it was.
Turn my phone up. Well, yeah. I get one call a day, and that was it.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time. So yeah, Pete Grimkowski was Mr. World.
So Pete Grimkowski was traveling the world, and I had started a supplement line, and he realized not everyone could come to the Mecca, so we thought about bringing the Mecca to the people. I had gone to UC Berkeley, and I knew there was a gym for sale in San Francisco, which ironically was called Diamond Gym. Owners thought, well, we can't be Gold's Gym. We'll be the next best thing, which is Diamonds. And I bought that with my father's help in 1980. In fact, it was June 16th, 1980, 40 years ago, that I opened the first Gold's Gym franchise, the first gym franchise ever.
Wow.
Which is, it's interesting now in light of the pandemic, because that was in San Francisco at the beginning of the HIV/AIDS crisis.
Very, very beginning.
So I had to deal with the myths surrounding how you could get AIDS, which probably aren't a lot different than the pandemic myths. And then, of course, I had to deal with sanitizing the gym. People thought if you sat on a bicycle seat, you could get AIDS after someone sat on it who was affected. So it was. It's kind of bringing back memories of that start.
So how many locations did it eventually grow to over the years at the height?
Well, when Tim and I sold first in 1999 to a private equity group out of Florida called Brockway Moran, but we stayed on as shareholders for 5 more years. So in 25 years, we grew it from 1 gym to 704.
Wow.
Before we sold, we were in 26 countries and 47 states.
Yeah, I mean, I can recall a time, there's still a lot of Gold's Gym locations, but I can recall a time where if you said gym, the word Gold's just popped into your head automatically. It was synonymous with gyms, it was synonymous with bodybuilding, and anybody that was...
That's what people don't realize is that, if you go back, I mean, I tell people, imagine 50 years ago, Arnold Schwarzenegger had to go from Graz, Austria to Venice, California to get a workout. And basically, back then, there were just either garage gyms or giant spas with silly names like President's First Lady or whatever. And so Gold's Gym, as we grew and modified our model, our gym model, it kind of became one gym fit all. And that's the gym you saw and have seen over a lot of the U.S. right now. I mean, now you can go anywhere in America, any urban area, and find a place to work out. But back then, that was not the case. So I don't think a lot of young people realize how much that the industry has changed.
Yeah. I mean, it started out as a strictly hardcore bodybuilding gym. It was the Mecca. Bodybuilders from all over the world would come out to Los Angeles, to Venice in particular, to train there and be part of that experience. How did you guys really transition it and make it cross over to the mainstream where people wouldn't be intimidated to walk into a Gold's Gym if they weren't a bodybuilder?
Well, first off, I think it was because we evolved. In other words, we didn't just stay the same. Change is the one constant. And so when we had a chance to move the gym back to its roots in Venice, we moved it from what was essentially a 4,600 square foot location to the first bay of a warehouse, which was 6,600 square feet.
Mm.
And then over time, I'm also an architect, so I focus a lot on numbers. But over time, we grew the gym into the entire building. So when we exited the gym in '04, it was 26,000 square feet of gym. I mean, keep in mind, imagine when we bought the gym in 1979, there were no bikes in the gym.
Mm.
There was no cardio.
Right.
So now an average gym might have 100 pieces of cardio in it. So
Yeah.
you had to grow to accommodate these changes. The resistance machines and yoga. I mean, group exercise. Jane Fonda was starting out at the same time, and when her rents got too high, and she started closing facilities, we moved that activity into the gym. So again, you need more square footage to do that.
Yeah.
So it's because of the nature of the business evolving over time that we grew, and we also grew our franchise model. We had minimums that we gradually increased over the years, as we knew that to survive in the market, you had to offer more things, more amenities.
Yeah. So the articles that have been posted recently, past couple of days about the Gold's Gym situation, they have a little over 700 locations right now.
No, they have 680 right now.
680. So they weren't actually able to grow it after you and your
No,
partners sold it
they
off.
unfortunately they raised the franchise fees, the royalties.
Yeah.
So we were charging basically $1,000 a month for use of the name.
Yeah.
They raised it to 7% of gross revenue, which is what fast food industry does.
Wow.
But we're not fast food. We don't do all that they do for their franchises. So, if you're grossing $100,000 a month as a gym owner, you're paying out $7,000 a month to corporate. Your fee now is 7 times what it was.
Wow.
And frankly, that's it's not worth it.
Hmm.
No, it's that. So they didn't grow the gym. I mean, they're down to 680 clubs right now. So in 16 years, they have a net loss of 24 gyms, and 400 of those are overseas. We have 100 gyms in India, 100 gyms in Japan, and these are people that we put in place with fair franchise agreements that were more basic performance or development agreements. So they were able to grow and thrive. So we're down to 280 Gold's Gyms in the U.S., of which 98 now are owned by GGI out of Dallas, and that's the company that filed for bankruptcy.
So it's roughly about half of the Gold's Gyms, at least in the U.S., are company owned, and the rest are franchisees.
Well, not quite half, because it's basically 280 minus the 98, so
Oh, that's my math.
150.
So that's
152 are franchised.
so that's two thirds of them are franchise.
Yeah.
Basically. Okay. Yeah, math is just it's always been rough for me, Ed. So the big news is that Gold's Gym filed for bankruptcy yesterday. So people who have no grasp of what that means, to the average person with no economic education like me, you hear bankruptcy and you think that's it, they're done, they're folding, they're never coming back. What does Chapter 11? What does bankruptcy actually mean?
Well, it can be more of a sword than a shield. In other words, my guess is that GGI will use it as an attempt to renegotiate their leases. Wow. So that's the one thing that's changed over the years is, of course, the rental rates. And it used to be, it might be 12% of your gross. And I think for some gym owners, it got as high as 40, 50%, which is not workable. So that would be the first thing they do. Now, you could survive quite a long time. Bally's was in bankruptcy. They filed twice, actually. They were in bankruptcy for many years.
Wow.
And so I think you can operate that way. And if you don't have a lot of debt, it's possible, I think, to come out of it. I heard yesterday that Neiman Marcus and J. Crew also filed for bankruptcy. I think Neiman Marcus has $8 billion in debt from leverage buyout. So, it doesn't mean the gyms are going to close tomorrow. It just means that they're they've got to renegotiate leases and look at look what they maybe sell off. Before this happened, about a month ago, Gold's Gym corporate sold off 22 of their clubs.
Hmm.
So, and they also closed, the 10 in St. Louis they had.
Wow.
So you could argue that they had too many clubs in certain markets, and so maybe they'll close down some and keep others open.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a video from the Gold's Gym president CEO Adam Zaitsev where he talked
Yeah,
about
right.
he wants to come back out of this in August. He hopes to reopen
Um,
to resume business, which it's ambitious, but I guess you got to be in business,
well,
right?
I'm in Houston right now, and I've heard the governor say that the Texas governor say that the gyms can reopen May 15th.
Oh wow, okay. So it's state by state because I'm in
Yeah,
Massachusetts and
right.
we haven't heard anything. It's they keep just
Well,
extending it.
kind of a wonderful thing about our country. We're going to see, with all the states doing different things, what worked or what didn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's to me, there's no rhyme or reason right now for what's going on. I don't quite get it, but
Yeah. It's one of our liberties as United States citizens is that the states do have a lot of leeway in governing themselves, but at the same time, this seems like a situation where the federal government should have just mandated this is what everybody's doing, do this, and then we can come out of quarantine this day if we meet these numbers and that. But it's kind of a it's kind of a mishmash where every state is acting independently and
right.
calling its own shots. It's kind of confusing. But I want to stay to the gym situation. Nothing has ever in my lifetime that I can remember shut down all the businesses in the country that were well, we never even had the term essential and non-essential.
Mhm.
Um, gyms are considered non-essential, where like liquor stores are considered essential. They're still open. Did you have a reaction to that when you heard about which businesses were considered essential and which ones were not, and gyms were on the not list?
I was, I was very disappointed. I mean, what's the word? I'm surprised, or disappointed, but not surprised. It's kind of stupidity because I think it sends a wrong message about health. I mean, again, I don't know all these stats. People are throwing out stats everywhere, but I read recently that 41% of the people that have died in New York were morbidly obese, not
Mm,
overweight, morbidly obese. So,
wow.
and you hear about the various uh, demographic groups getting killed, but are dying. But again, there are other issues there, like like the number of people that died in Italy is 4 times the U.S. per 100,000 or whatever right now, and God knows, I'm sure half of them smoked.
Mm,
But
yeah.
then again, the French are saying that actually smokers are doing better. So again, it's
No, they're
a lot
not.
of stats out there. But I think closing the gym is the wrong message. Or um, they again, I've been on some podcasts the past couple of weeks with gym owners talking about how they're dealing with this. And the most interesting thing I heard from one of them was he emailed all of his members to ask them if they knew anyone who had gotten sick or if they were ever sick themselves. And so far, it's coming back that we're a pretty healthy group.
Hmm.
So I think if you need to reduce the fear in members coming back because I can see it when I'm out there in the world that the media has created such a frenzy or such a hyper state of awareness that people are afraid.
Yeah, I'm curious. You've spoken to these gym owners. Financially, do they still have money coming in, or have members on by and large have they frozen memberships or
That's actually a very interesting question. Some of the owners I've talked to have said actually, and I think I'll generalize here, but maybe a third of the members said, I want to help you, I want to support you. You can keep drafting my membership dues.
Hmm.
Third wanted refunds, and the third probably are not sure what they're going to do. I heard or saw that 24 Hour was being sued by its members for not refunding or stopping drafts. But unfortunately, I think a lot of the EFT, the electronic fund transfer hardware, is not set up, or software is not set up for shutting down like that for a pandemic. I mean, this is a first.
yeah, I mean, I'm guessing because a lot of people aren't doing well. A lot of people are out of work or their income is
Right.
drastically reduced during this time. and if they can't go to the gym and they need to pay their mortgage and their car
Right.
payments still, they're gonna get rid of any EFT with automatic withdrawals that they possibly can, and the gym would probably be
Yeah.
first on their list. So I'm just wondering, out of all the gyms in America, percentage wise, how many of them are going? Do you think most gyms are going to survive this, or we're going to lose a lot of gyms?
I think thousands will close.
Wow,
Maybe at least 10,000.
wow. Is it who's at higher risk of losing their gym? Would be a independently owned gym that's just all on its own, or would be a franchisee of a larger chain like a Gold's or an LA Fitness? Who's safer and who's not as safe in this climate?
I think it has to do a lot with what the model looks like. The mom and pop boutique gyms that are, one thing like yoga or Pilates or a CrossFit type gym like F45 or Orange Theory. They're not exactly in that category, but those kind of gyms, I think, could have real problems if the state mandates that they practice social distancing. Like some of the states are, basically like with restaurants are saying, well, if you have an aerobic class of 30 people in it, now you can only have 10.
Mm,
But that, again, the gym business basically is about numbers and volume.
right.
And I'm not sure that's going to work for many. So, and I'm also concerned about the big box gyms like LA Fitness, Gold's Gym, or 24 Hour, because they're going to be hard to clean. You've got a lot of different equipment and services. So it's going to be a nightmare. I've been listening to these podcasts, and as boring as they are, they're also scary
Mm.
because I don't see it working very well.
Yeah, I mean, in the states that have opened up gyms so far, which has only been a couple, I believe. I think Georgia, I
Right,
think I think Tennessee opened up as well, and Texas they're going to be opening up shortly, I believe. Correct?
right.
Have they made any specifications, the state government, about you need to have based on your square footage? This is how many people you can have in your facility at one time, and
Right.
they need to be 6 feet apart. And are they mandating masks? I mean, what are you hearing as far as
Well,
what they're
I
asking?
talked to a gym owner in Nebraska this morning, and he's been allowed to stay open during this whole phase,
Hmm,
but he's limited uh, by the number of people he can have in each room.
hmm,
So, in other words, it's kind of bizarre. Like in a tanning booth room, he can have obviously one person. That works great, but
yeah,
in the main gym area, he can only have 10 people. Now,
yeah.
if your gym is broken up into rooms, as I read that language, like Venice Gold's gym was basically broken up. I mean, our Pete Tim and my lucky star was that we rented a building initially that had 4 bays, and
Hmm,
so over the 26 years, actually initially 12 or 13, we could take over the whole building. If we had not been able to evolve and grow, we might have died. I don't
hmm,
know. So, but that gym was 4 bays. So by that same rule of thumb, would we be allowed 40 people? But if there were no room, there were no walls between the rooms, would we only be allowed 10? And that doesn't really work very well. Um, so yeah, it's going to be a struggle. Um, I would say Gold's Gym Venice, you could have, we probably had 250 people in there at any one time.
hmm. On a normal day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge place. That's about 60,000 square feet
Oh,
now.
oh, 26,000 square feet.
That's all as well. It seems pretty big to me.
I think the being broken up in a number of rooms fooled people, but I would say that's actually an ideal size for a gym. I don't know what more. I mean, we had 12,000 members when we sold in '04.
Wow.
So, how many more do you need, and how much square footage do you need? I think anything much over 26,000 is not necessary. And I focused a lot. I mean, we grew from, again, 40 when Pete Tim and I bought Gold's Gym, it was 4,600 square feet,
Hmm,
and we grew it to 26,000 over time. And I know Joe Gold, when his original gym, which was in a house in Venice, I had to do the drawings actually to convert it to a legal home.
hmm.
It was 4,400 square feet.
Wow.
So that gym you see in Pumping Iron is 4,400 square feet. Well, that'd be the size of a couple aerobics rooms in some gyms.
Yeah. I mean, the first you could have fit, boy, probably about 10 of those into the first room of Gold's Gym Venice alone.
Well, you could have fit one and a half of them in. Yeah, the first room. Yeah.
My math is just so bad. But yeah, I'm curious about this social distancing and how it's going to work in gyms. And I don't know if anyone has the answers yet. But you have if we're all supposed to stay 6 feet apart,
Mhm.
um, typical gyms have all the step mills together. So you're supposed to all police. Who's gonna? It's going to have to be up to the members because most gyms don't have a staff available. And I don't think they're going to be able to afford someone who goes around and just keeps people apart from each other
Well,
and makes sure everyone's wiping everything down.
you could do it with signage. I've seen it now in restaurants or on the bus or public transportation where they'll block off certain seats. So say you had a row of 100 pieces of cardio equipment. Say you have 30 treadmills, maybe you block off every other one or every third one. You put you put some tape on them or cover them up.
That would
But
work.
that again, it's not. You've got to have a lot of members to survive. I mean, it's not just about making money, but if you're not making money, you can't pay the rent.
Yeah. See, that's the thing is, if you have a large amount of members and only a certain amount of people are allowed inside the gym, you're either going to have people waiting outside to come in like a nightclub or like
Right.
they're doing like a lot of supermarkets and Costco. A lot of businesses now are doing that, or you're going to have to make an appointment to train.
Right.
Say, my appointment tomorrow is from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And if you don't show up, you lost your spot and you can't work out that day. I don't know how this is going to go over with a lot of people who it's
Right.
it's it's
Well, this
just
is
they
this
want
is
that
the thing.
convenience of going whenever they want.
If you have a smaller personal training gym, say you've got something under 6,000 square feet, I could see where you might actually be able to do quite well with this because you wouldn't have had that many people in the club. It's going to be easy to sanitize. You could even schedule people to come at certain times. So I think again, this is gonna work for a certain model of
Yeah.
gym.
Now, as far as membership rates, most people are used to paying these dirt cheap,
Yeah,
because of Planet Fitness and they're 9.99. Screwed everyone over basically. But I'd say the average gym rate in America is probably between $30 and $40 a month that people pay. Do you think that that's going to have to increase for gyms to stay in business?
I think it's going to have to go up
Hmm.
because, for instance, if you're talking about having someone at the front door to take someone's temperature or get them to wash their hands or put on a mask, I mean that's another person.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be have probably a dedicated person to cleaning the equipment, maybe two. So no, it's definitely going to. I mean, I think the day of the low cost gyms are over.
Hmm.
Actually, Planet Fitness, those were former Gold Gym owners that left the system because of the higher franchise fees.
Hmm.
But Gold's actually we pioneered low cost memberships. We were charging $19 a month back in 1980,
Wow.
but that
Hmm.
was the equivalent of $54 back then. But that was cheap compared to a big gym like a spa, like a Jack LaLanne's European Health Spa. They were charging $500 to $3,000.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, the only chains I can remember prior to Gold's were like the Armentani, I think, had
That was part of that whole system. Yeah,
chain spas. Yeah.
Jack
So,
LaLanne. Yeah.
so I'm wondering also another question is a lot of people have been training at home during this whole epidemic out of necessity. It's either that or you don't train at all. They've picked up a lot of equipment
Mhm.
online or whatever they could scrape and forage and steal and buy. So a lot of people have home gyms set up now in a spare room in their basement or their garage. Do you think a lot of those people are going to stay home and work out from home from now on, or do you think most people will want to go back to the gym?
I think people like that were so concerned and got some equipment at home. I think they're the first probably back in the gym
That's
because
me.
yeah, I think there are a lot of people like you. It's um, I've actually been surprised that more people um, didn't find more equipment because I think when I remember a poll of members that showed that 75% of our members had uh, home gym equipment, but maybe that was just a bike. Maybe it wasn't that much, resistance equipment. But I think the hardcore member will go back right away. It's the other people that I think are going to hold back until there's
Yeah.
a vaccine or whatever. I mean, it'll be an excuse not to go to the gym.
Yeah. Well, like you said, a lot of gyms are going to not, they're not going to make it through this. They're just not going to survive. So that's going to limit the amount of gyms that people can go to.
Hmm.
And the rates will probably necessarily will have to go up. You know, this
Right.
20, $30 a month, it's not going to sustain
Hmm.
the operating costs of a gym, especially if they have to hire people to enforce all these new
Hmm.
regulations for sanitizing. And you're going to have washroom attendants to watch people and scold them if they don't wash their hands, which is, it's kind of laughable, but I think that's what's going to happen. Um, so do you think it'll balance out where we have maybe less people going back to the gyms, the less dedicated people, but we have less gyms? I mean, I'm looking for your prediction on the future of the gym industry after this happens. Your best guess.
Well, again, if I can go back 40 years to AIDS,
Mm,
the AIDS crisis, uh, we if you think about what it was like operating in that environment back then, and you might have thought, oh my God, gyms are dead.
yeah.
But in fact, the gyms. I think back then there were 7,000 quote gyms in America. Now there are close to 50,000.
Wow.
And I think fitness is more important than ever. I think this pandemic is going to show that you need to be healthy. The people who are dying are the older sick people or the people who are overweight or obese.
Right.
So I hope this. It's going to take time. Whatever. I mean, ultimately, I think there'll be a whole new fitness world out there. I've been working on a prototype for the last 6 years, which relies more on virtual reality, virtual training, and I think something like that now makes more sense
Mm,
because people like you don't exist in any great number anyway. Now
that's true. I
you're,
know.
you're not a millennial,
No.
so I mean, Pete, Tim, and I were fortunate to be part of what I would call the golden age of bodybuilding, the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
And but that's when the millennials were being born, and they like the way you look, but they don't want to necessarily work out or eat like you do to look the way you do.
That's
But I do
true.
think they respect you a lot.
Mm,
So that to me is the one encouraging thing I see here. And I think again with the right model of gym, uh, fitness will continue to flourish.
mm. Yeah, I mean, I do think it's going to be a rough transition period for gyms and for a lot of businesses because we have this the media really drove home this paranoia now that we can't be near other human beings and everybody's paranoid. Like I go to walk my dog at the park and I'm
Mm.
20 feet away from someone and I wave hello and they shrink away and look away like just saying hello back to me is going to infect them or something. So I think it is going to be tough at first for people to go back to gyms and be
Yeah,
worried about touching something and breathing and but
yeah.
eventually we've got to get back to real life and this
Yeah, I
is
see that fear, and I have to blame the media. I don't. I mean, we live in a 24-hour news cycle, and they've got to report something, and that's an easy thing to focus on right now. It's sad, but I think we'll get through. We'll get through it initially. I mean, people will, like with AIDS, will realize you can't get it that easily, or you now there's medicine for it. But do you know how many people have died from AIDS in the past 40 years?
20 years,
40 years.
40 years. I'm going to say in USA alone,
No, worldwide,
I'm going to say 5 million,
33 million.
33 million. Wow.
And 40 million people are living with it. How many people have died from the pandemic worldwide?
Oh, worldwide, it's less than a million, isn't it?
It's under 300,000 right
It's
now.
under 300,000. So yeah, the
So,
media, the media has really taken this and ran.
yeah.
I mean, they're already, this is off topic, but they're already getting worried about their ratings. So now they're bringing in giant Asian murder hornets to scare us. Now we got to worry about these giant carnivorous insects to
Well,
come kill us.
the
Oh boy,
ratings I read are up. So it's been a blessing. But
for them, yeah.
I mean, if it were
Well,
more, I don't want to make light of people dying, but if you dying of AIDS was pretty horrific. I don't
yeah,
know if you know anybody, but it's not a great way to die, and it was hard to catch. But um, no, I mean, I'm not impressed with the numbers.
yeah. I mean, I hear that all the time, especially if you're on Facebook. It's a very disgruntled America right now. People are
Mhm.
very upset that we've been
Yeah.
almost, a lot of people feel we've been duped by the media, especially into overreacting to this and
Well, I mean, I
lose.
don't. You could almost. I mean, I would say we've been hosed maybe by our government.
Mm.
I mean, I don't, the government can lead. I mean, the thing is, we've got this whole wealth of experiences worldwide. I talked to a friend in Sweden. Maybe you know him, Overritter.
Yeah, yeah. He used to.
Yeah.
Was he a pro bodybuilder back in the day?
No, but he had a bodybuilding magazine, and he was he might have been a competitive bodybuilder, but he said that the gyms in Sweden have been open, but because of the media, they're not widely attended right now.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
but we've got all these different situations worldwide. So I think we're going to know soon enough how great a hazard this is. But yeah, it's just it's not Ebola, it's not the Marburg virus, it's the flu.
Yeah, and in fact, I've seen the numbers on. I think it was the SARS virus and
Right.
HNN1, and they were much
Yeah.
much deadlier. But we didn't hear. Nobody was worried about those. I don't
And
remember.
that's why countries like Vietnam and Singapore, maybe Australia and New Zealand have done better because they dealt with SARS back when it started, so they shut down right away. And
Mm,
see, if our government had done that in December or January, started closing off flights from Europe and Asia, maybe we'd be in much better shape. I don't know, but yeah, there'll be a lot of money more quarterbacking on this, or a lot of we'll gain insight, I think, or knowledge.
yeah, and like I said, we're really watching those states that are opening up closely
Right.
because they're the guinea pigs. They're the
Well, as I said, I'm in Houston. The malls opened on Saturday and they were empty.
wow.
I would
Huh.
say 10% of the stores were even open,
Huh.
and there were very few people in them. So, yeah, it's and the restaurants I looked at. I mean, most were closed still, and the
Hmm.
ones I went into were, they had, I think again, like with the gyms, the ones that can afford the spacing, they'll survive. The ones that need the volume are going to die.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everyone's eagerly hoping that their own private, the gym that they go to is going to make it through this. We're all secretly hoping
Yeah.
against hope, but unfortunately, it's not going to be the case for everybody. A lot of people they're not going to have their favorite gym to come back to soon when this is all done. But well, Ed, thank you so much for your insights. I know nobody would have had the experience and insights into the Gold's Gym situation that you would have had, and you did. You enlightened us, gave us some great
Well,
info.
I turned 75 tomorrow, and
Wow.
you would think I'd seen it all, but I mean, nothing. This is something, of course, I've never experienced. So, except in a mild way with various things that I've had to go through over the years, like AIDS and the swine flu, the bird flu, things like that created some havoc, but nothing this extensive. No.
Yeah, I'm thinking the only time America even came close to shutting down was World War II when we
Mm.
basically had to convert a lot of businesses to the war effort. But it's still they still went to the movies and restaurants. They did whatever they want to do. This is the first time we've had our personal freedoms actually taken away, where
Right.
our government said you have to stay home,
Yeah.
you can't drive, and you see signs on the freeway says if you're coming into our state, you need to self quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre for Americans. We've never had our personal liberties encroached upon this way, and it's supposedly for our own good, obviously, but it still has a little bit of that Big Brother 1984 feel to it, I
Mhm.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, closing off the beaches. That seemed I don't understand that at all, because I mean, I would hope our people are sophisticated enough or considerate enough that they would socially distance on the beach. And the California beaches, my God, or most of Florida are so wide. I don't know, there's no need to worry, I think, about contaminating someone.
Yeah, I mean, if you put your blanket down, you're typically trying to
Right.
give yourself at least 6 feet of space anyway, so you don't get sand kicked on you or anything.
Right.
So, or you don't have to listen to someone's terrible music from their
Right.
boombox. But
That's a good
yeah.
point.
Well, Ed, let's hope this is over soon.
Yeah.
Let's hope most of our favorite gyms make it through this. I hope mine does. And yeah, thank you for taking the time, Ed. Appreciate it very much.
Take care, Ron. Thank
All right,
you.
everybody. Thanks for watching Ronline Report with this man, Ed Connors, and we'll see you next time.